Good morning, everybody. First sip with Draft for Upside, the last one of the 2020 regular season. It is week 17. Everybody and their brother is sitting. Well, not really, but a lot of people are sitting. I've got a nice cup of coffee. How about you two?
I've finished a couple already.
Got coffee and bubbly.
Ooh, bubbly. Like actual bubbly or like bubbly?
Oh, no. Like
the can of bubbly.
Yeah, mango flavored water.
I like it. And switch up over here. All right, gang. Well, you know what? Week 1 was really good to you two, and I'd love to see us go out on the same note in week 17. That would be fantastic. I have big plans to finally join the winnings this week. I don't know about you two. I'm going to take down at least 3 or 4 GPPs. I got this.
Yeah, I'm hoping I score big. I need to finance my NHL season.
Yeah, I like it. Chris, you been getting any sleep, man? Or you just been grinding away this LOL? What's up?
There hasn't been any LOL except for yesterday. There was just one slate. That's it. It doesn't start till next week, my friend.
Yeah, but have you been studying? Have you been breaking down numbers, looking at lineups?
Not really, no. I don't have to do that over the course of a night. I can do that during the day.
I like it. Let's do a quick share haul and get going. All right, anything pop up this morning? Chris, you usually watch the Twitter feed a little closer than I do. Anything, any inactives or actives that have popped up this morning? I know we're waiting to find out if Lev Bell is going to play and a few other key spots.
I don't think anything's popped up yet, and I'm not sure that I'm really caring if Le'Veon Bell is playing or not. I mean, to be quite honest, I don't think that changes anything for me.
Probably not, but some people might care.
Yeah, he was out snapped by Williams last week, so I expect more Williams in the backfield.
Yeah, I mean, if that's where you want to go for your backfield, I'm not sure that that's kind of where I'm going to find myself. But yeah, I mean, I guess the only one that I think that has the largest impact, and I suspect that he's going to be active, would be Gus Edwards. I think J.K. Dobbins becomes a very interesting play if he's got the backfield to himself.
Yeah, I like Dobbins quite a bit with if Gus is going to miss. I've got probably one lineup with Darrell Williams in it. I don't know if I'm playing a whole lot of these backup running backs. I'm not terribly interested in Ty Montgomery. I don't know. I kind of got drawn into Josh Jacobs and Melvin Gordon and Taylor and Henry, and I haven't really messed around with a lot of the backup guys. Mark, are you following any of these backups?
No, I'm kind of with. I mean, I have a couple of high-end stacks where they let me get there. So, I do have a tie and tie lineup just because it let me, do a Green Bay stack with Stephon Diggs, something like that. Outside of that, no, I mean, I do like Madison still. It is Detroit, but at the same time, I like Cousins a lot in that game. So obviously they don't correlate together. The running backs I'm kind of into this week have been DeAndre Swift, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, I really like Gordon and Jacobs. I don't know. They seem to be those guys that will get you to their base number at least. Jacobs absolutely destroyed Denver last time they played. Chris, you have any preference between those two guys? No interest in those two guys?
Absolutely zero interest.
I know. You didn't even
cross my mind. I think they're both disgusting. Gordon more so than Jacobs.
Yeah.
No, nothing at all. I'm not deviating too far. I mean, Madison on FanDuel is a complete lock at 5,000. He's basically a min price. And so is Ty Montgomery, but I think Madison at 5K is just a smash over there. He's a little bit more of you got to kind of think it through on DK, but Madison, Gaskin, Taylor, Henry, those are kind of the 4 guys. I just can't see getting too far away from anybody else. I mean, Taylor and Henry just have smash spots. I think if you wanted to get different, a couple of the guys that I find interesting are going to be like Jeff Wilson Jr. I think that Aaron Jones is an interesting pivot if you're not playing Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams. And then Ty Johnson on the Jets is a real interesting low price guy. He doesn't have Frank Gore there. They've just been running the ball a lot in New York. New England's had some issues in terms of stopping the run. Not a favorite play. And then Williams out of Kansas City. Those are kind of that's the core. That's all I'm really looking at.
Yeah, I like Gaskins a lot. I do. I kept falling on Melvin Gordon just because he just falls in that like 5,700 spot, and I just kind of like where he's at there. But other than that, I'm with you. I don't really like Ty Montgomery. I just don't know that he's actually going to see enough action. I mean, he's mid-priced, sure, but I don't know. That's a weird game. I have no real read on that game.
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. I mean, I think the thing with Ty Montgomery that you consider is that he's probably not going to run the ball like handoffs more than 8 to 10 times, but he will be incorporated with a lot of little receptions. You don't need to go too far back in the history books to look at Ty Montgomery running back games to kind of get a gauge. Obviously, different team, but you would think that they're going to be employed the same way. The thing that you're not going to get from him is kind of those goal line runs. I would expect those all to go to Taysom Hill. So does that limit his upside? I certainly think it does. You're not going to getting those 6-point touchdowns.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept there of what they're going to do in the goal line. I think if they get down to that like 7-8 yards or within, I think they just turn the ball over to Taysom Hill behind the center and do some weird wildcat stuff maybe with him and Montgomery. So you might see Montgomery touch a ball in that case, but I don't know. I mean, Mike Thomas is out. Traquan Smith is out. Every running back's out. It's just a weird game. I'm having a hard time even wanting a piece of it anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, so the last time that this happened was a little bit further back. If you go back to 2017, the beginning of the season, that there's some massive usage for Ty Montgomery, where he was getting anywhere from 10 to 19 carries, and then somewhere between 7 to 10 or targets as well. So had a couple big games, but even in those games, I mean, you're looking at 14, 13, 19, and 29, out of those, 50% of them or something that you'd be willing to take. Whereas you just have absolute smash spots for Henry and Taylor. And I just don't see as many scenarios for them to fail as there are for Montgomery to be successful. It's just, these two defenses that they're going against, they should probably be higher owned. I mean, it's how do you get away from them outside of price?
Fair enough. So just flipping down the list here, I mean, McCaffrey's most likely not playing. Just look at the DraftKings pricing top to bottom for running backs here. Derrick Henry, even at 94, I just love throwing him in those lineups, and there's so much value with all these other guys sitting and possibilities and wide receiver. You can get real low on wide receiver for people who are going to be starting receivers, seeing 70-80% of the snaps at like $4,000. So I'm not having a real hard time fitting Derrick Henry in. The hard part was choosing not to put him in, and where I'm going with the extra money for me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, though, is if you start your lineups and you start building from the running back position, and it's easy to get Derrick Henry in, I mean, he's probably going to be higher than that 25% owned. And to be different in your lineups, your build, if it doesn't have Henry and it doesn't have a guy like, Jonathan Taylor, your running backs are probably sitting around that 6K mark. Or if you really go lower, you're looking at a combined maybe 11,000. That's going to make your wide receiver core very different. And one of the things that you want to consider is like those guys that have that pop-off capability. While it didn't happen last week, it happened the 2 weeks prior that one of the high-owned or high-cost wide receivers that went off was Calvin Ridley at low ownership in both of those weeks when people were on guys like, DeAndre Hopkins, when people were on guys like Keenan Allen, some of which, went off and some of which did not. But if you had Calvin Ridley at less than 5% ownership and he goes off for 24, 30 points, you're in a good spot. Certainly could do it again today, but I think he's going to command a little bit higher ownership just as a result of those couple weeks ago.
Where are you sitting on a guy like Stephon Diggs for 8,100? I mean, I liked him when I can fit him in, but like, do they blow that game out? Does it not matter halfway through when they see that there's no point?
I don't think that they play the whole game. So I have no interest in an $8,000 wide receiver. I have no interest in Josh Allen. You want to throw him into a a fringe GPP, huge entry pool, sure. I mean, but anything beyond like a Millie Maker type lineup or the $3 20 max, those type of contests you could take a chance, but I don't have a lot of hopes for them.
Yeah, and I'm definitely playing the $3 20 max. So I mean, I've got a lineup or two with the Buffalo guys. I mean, I would not put them in cash for sure. My probably favorite play there, as I'm flipping through these, I just kept coming back to Tyler Lockett at 5,800. I mean, that's just an unbelievably low price for a guy that has made 3 touchdowns in the game twice this year.
Well, I mean, I agree. Both the price on him and Metcalf are pretty enticing, but there are reasons behind those prices, and it's just the lack of production that they've had. I mean, dating back almost. I mean, the last good game that Lockett had that would even pay off that salary is back in November against Arizona. Aside from that, every other game has been a dud. And then, I mean, even before that, I mean, realistically, he's had 4 games this year, 3 or 4 games that have paid that off and handsomely, obviously. So if you are going for that boomer bust build, absolutely. I think he's one of those guys, and there are a couple of them on this slate that are a little bit less expensive that have high upside, but are not being talked about. Lockett being one. I think Mike Williams is another. 10 targets last week, didn't get a lot of catches, going to be the main guy in the offense. I think he's going to have another 10-target game. Maybe he'll catch more than 2 or 3 of them. And then the other guy that's a high target person that I really like is Darius Slayton, playing against the Cowboys. 4,100, I think, is his salary, and this guy's getting 8 or 9 targets pretty consistently when Daniel Jones is out there. So
and Tate's not playing either.
Yeah, I mean, Shepard's a good play. Ingram's a good play. They're all really inexpensive, but Slayton's the guy that doesn't need a lot of – I mean, if he's getting 9 targets and he's only catching 4 or 5 of them, he can still get you where you need to go with a long touchdown. Same thing with Mike Williams. These are not guys that need excessive volume to do it because they're getting kind of more intermediate routes, kind of like a guy like like a Chris Godwin, a little bit more expensive, but he's not getting those 60, 70-yard plays on a consistency, whereas that's kind of what Slayton and Mike Williams do when they do anything.
Let's talk about a place that I have found is very underowned, and probably mostly because, Mason Rudolph is throwing the ball. But you've got 3 wide receivers capable of big games in Pittsburgh. If you were going to go that route and pick one of those guys, I mean, are you still falling on Deontay Johnson even with Mason Rudolph, or are you just skipping all those guys altogether?
I have no interest. I mean, they're implied for 16 points. We saw what that offense did last year with Mason Rudolph. I think this Cleveland defense is better than the numbers indicate. They've been dealing with injuries. Myles Garrett was out for a while. They've just had some weird situations. I think their defensive numbers, specifically in that game against Tennessee, are a little bit skewed just simply because they got out to such a lead that they probably weren't putting full effort in. There's not a lot of motivation on this Pittsburgh side of things. So, yeah, I mean, I like the Cleveland defense. I like it a lot, especially in the early slate at 2,500.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. Is I don't see anything coming out of this Pittsburgh offense, and I'm playing a lot of Cleveland's defense against it.
Yeah, the one guy that's interesting in that game is going to be, I think a lot of people will go to Nick Chubb as kind of a guy outside of the running backs that we talked about. But ever since he was touted at, always getting 100 yards per game, dating back to last year, he hasn't got 100 yards in a game. Now scores a touchdown every week. So certainly you factor those 2 things in, and if you can get them together, you're going to have a fantastic upside. But I really like Jarvis Landry in this game. Jarvis Landry has been a guy that has consistently performed for Cleveland when the weather has allowed it to be such a passing game. I think the weather is fine in Cleveland today, so I think Landry is a very interesting play at 6,500, kind of that mid-price, huge ceiling, certainly has a floor. But, you look over the last couple games ever since they got out of those tremendously windy games with like Houston, Las Vegas, and Philly, and you've got 31, 20, 11, and 19, all of those games almost double-digit targets. So the other thing to consider is he didn't test positive for COVID-19. They were just close contacts. So that's why they're back. I think that there should be a little bit more concern, specifically on like playoff slates coming up with like a guy like Alvin Kamara, and how does this, impact him from a lingering standpoint. But that's not the case with the Cleveland receivers here.
I mean, I'm only about 10% chance of Kamara playing next week, if you ask me. I mean, these COVID cases usually take people out for 10 to 14 days minimum.
Yeah, I'm just saying afterwards, if they get past their first game. So.
For sure. All right, so let's talk about a game we know will be high owned, the Tennessee and Houston game. How the wide receivers shake out for you, Mark? Where are you at here? Are you riding the chalk with Brandon Cooks? Are you trying to get a piece of that with a little lower with Kiki Kuti? Are you bouncing back to Corey Davis after his zero burger last week, or is it all about A.J. Brown on the other side if you're fading David? If you're fading
Derrick Henry.
There we go.
Yeah, I went with the lower priced receivers for the most part. I do have a little bit of Brandon Cooks depending on the lineup, but my main stack, I'm going with Kiki Kuti and stacking with Deshaun Watson, and then Derrick Henry run back in that situation. Then I did a Tannehill, A.J. Brown, run it back with Brandon Cooks the other way.
Now, Chris, if you're going to play that, the contrarian stack there and go Tannehill and receivers, are you playing Brown and Davis with him, or are you just picking one or the other?
Probably going to go with one or the other. Derrick Henry's not going to be completely out of the game unless they get blown out. And in that case, I don't think both wide receivers are going to be viable if they're not getting blown out, obviously. Because Derrick Henry, he's still going to have some production, and that production is going to come at a cost of that passing game. It's just how much of that production is going to go to him. And if he's going to get the bulk of it, then neither of the receivers are going to hit their numbers. If he's going to get some of it and misses his number, then one of the two receivers could. It just kind of, it feels like an A.J. Brown kind of day to me. I know the bounce back Corey Davis, every other week type of scenario seems to be something that you can kind of play into, and certainly the $1,000 difference is interesting. But I just don't think that a lot of people are going to have A.J. Brown. I think more people will have Corey Davis, but both of these guys are going to be probably low owned just on the basis that a lot of people are going to play Derrick Henry, and I mean rightfully so. It's hard to get your mind off of Derrick Henry right now.
Yeah, you said something interesting earlier. Sorry to bounce around. That's kind of what happened Sunday morning on First Sip. I had made mention in my tipsy pick, Aaron Jones, not a typical candidate for a tipsy pick article, but it's just a brief mention in there. It's just every time you look at a game and you think, this doesn't stack up for a running game. This is a game that Aaron Rodgers is going to tear apart, and this isn't the Aaron Jones game. Every time I think that in my head, Aaron Jones takes off. So, I mean, I don't have a lot of exposure to him because I do like Rodgers in this game, but I do have a little bit of him, and I think this could be one of those weird games where people don't think he'll do well against Chicago in cold weather, and then all of a sudden, boom, he takes over the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that people are not looking at, give me a second here. Let's take a look. Where is it? So Chicago is the second worst team in allowing explosive running plays at 15%. The only team that allows more is going to be Cincinnati. And in that realm is also like Arizona, Miami, and Buffalo, and Houston's up there too, around the same percentage. To give you a perspective, Detroit, who's really bad against the run, only allows 11% explosive plays. So, that's kind of the recipe for him is, one or two big runs that end in maybe a touchdown or two. And those yards chunk out what Devontae Adams can get, chunk out what Aaron Rodgers can get. And that's where he becomes viable.
Yeah, I could see that. That would be nice. I'm going to clip through here. You saw in the chat with me last night probably that I just unbelievable amount of Jets defense in my lineups, and I usually tweak my defenses afterwards. I just kind of throw something in there and play around with players and then go back and kind of sort it out, especially after we talk on this show. But am I crazy to think the Jets defense at 2.3 could pay off against a turnover-prone New England team? You only need 6-7 points to pay it off, and it just kind of opens things up for you.
I like it. They're my punt defense this week. I found myself landing a lot on the Jets as my low cost one, and I like the Browns, and I have a sprinkling of Seattle in there. But I do find myself the majority of mine are with the Jets. I think they can make 2,300.
Yeah, and I think you're right about Seattle too. That was my other build. I just tend to like them against the 49ers. The 49ers don't have much to play for. They're missing Ayuk. They're missing Debo. They're missing all their running backs, but Jeff Wilson. They're playing CJ Beathard. I just think it's a good spot for Seattle.
Yeah, and one of the weird things is if you look at Seattle's defensive scoring, while they haven't been crazy, the last couple of weeks, 9, 12, 9. I mean, they're putting up some type of points because they are getting to the quarterback. They're limiting points. I do like Jeff Wilson in this game, and I think you can, like Jeff Wilson, like Seattle's defense, probably shouldn't play them together, but especially if we're looking at Seattle's defense and the method to them scoring those points is limiting points. And the only way that Jeff Wilson's going to score points is if he scores points. So yeah, the correlation's probably not there. I'm going to be playing a lot more Jeff Wilson probably in the afternoon slate, not really going to play him in the main slate. I don't think, that might be where I get different. But I played in the early only a little bit of Cam. I think that, I get where you guys are coming from on the Jets, but let me paint this narrative. New England has nothing to play for. They don't give a shit about Cam. This could be Cam's last game. I think I played a little Cam, and I didn't play him with a wide receiver. I think Cam can get 10 to 15 carries here. He's going to get a lot of the goal line work. I think he could put up a sneaky good game, much like his week 1 performance. I'm trying to also emulate my week 1 performance, and maybe me and Cam can do it together.
Well, I will tell you that though, I agree they have nothing to play for, and part of my narrative, if you read the tipsy picks, was that Belichick just might play some guys he wants to see in action, and they just might not put much of an effort in. But I agree, I did throw a contrarian lineup in from my own builds, because if I'm all over the Jets, I got to have at least a build or two with some New England guys, right? It's just the way you got to do it. If you go back and look, I think it was Perriman when they played last time. Can't remember if it was. Yeah, Perriman. Yeah, but that had a big game there. So yeah, you're right. Gilmore's not there, so I kind of like the other way too, man. I played a couple of Jets stacks offensively, not just defensively.
I think you need to be careful, though, trying to just draw a parallel to Perriman. That didn't mean to do it.
Oh, no, yeah.
Just on the basis that you'd actually have to go back and look at what that wide receiver situation was like when Perriman went off, because, they've been injured in and out. Crowder hasn't been there. I'm sure Mark's going to play some Jamison Crowder. I have a little bit. I know Mark, despite what he's going to tell us, has a Malcolm Brown nostalgia lineup in there somewhere. Maybe he's just playing a showdown with Malcolm Brown and the captain. I don't know, but
yeah, I wasn't trying to say that I'm going to play Perriman. I was just trying to say that they, without Gilmore, they can put up some points. And then on the other side, I think it was Myers. Yeah, Myers had 12 catches for 169 against the Jets. So, I do have a Cam only stack, and I do have, or not stack, Cam only QB spot and the Cam and Myers spot to go against the 80% Jets defense I'm playing.
Sure. Yeah. And it's, both those scenarios are good. I just lean towards, Cam's done. He looks done. New England's done. So I'm not expecting much out of it, but obviously I do have one Cam lineup in there.
The other guys that I think are really inexpensive that are interesting are the wide receivers out of Carolina. Pick which guy you want. They're all around the same price. Yes, New Orleans has had a pretty decent passing defense, but these guys were able to exploit it to some extent. You got that Teddy Bridgewater revenge narrative times 2, the second time around. I don't think that's a huge thing, but I think to some extent Bridgewater is playing in some regards to try and solidify his job next year. So I think you can go to a Robbie Anderson or a DJ Moore. I'm probably not stacking, and I don't want more than one of them in my lineup, but I think one of those guys probably has a good game today.
Yeah, I don't.
I really like Curtis Samuel in this game. I know New Orleans defense has been pretty good, but with all the injuries Carolina has, and he's been running the ball as much as he's been catching the ball. So I think he's in a good spot. Like you said, I'll run him solo and not in a stack, but I think he's a decent contrarian play, and I don't think anybody's playing him. I haven't heard anything from other stations and so forth, even looking at Carolina.
I think he's supposed to be the highest owned of the three, but I mean, we're talking sub 10%. I got him at 9. I've got DJ Moore at 5, and then Anderson at 6. So yeah, he is going to be the highest owned, but maybe about the 10th highest owned wide receiver.
All right, let's go to our boy Reginald's favorite play, the naked Tom Brady. Anybody doing the naked Tom Brady? I mean, I like him, but I also like him with Evans or playing him with Gronk. I got one lineup with him with Antonio Brown, even though I hate to admit that.
Well, I mean, the question is how long is he going to play? I mean, right? He's an old man. They're going to want to rest him for the playoffs. So my thing, sure, I'm going to play one because I'm going to put 20 lineups in, but for the most part, my concern would be the same as with Josh Allen. Is he going to play the whole game? Is he going to make his value? Is he going to get there? And since he has so many targets, who do you play with him?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with him is that he's right now 5th in passing. He does have a incentive of $562,500 if he remains in the top 5 in passing. So there's that. I mean, how much does he want? $500,000.
Also, if they win, they're almost locked to play whoever comes out of the NFC East in the playoffs. So that's good, right?
I mean, as long as it's not the Giants, right?
Right. Well, Eli's not there, so, as long as he doesn't have to play Eli or Foles, I think they're fine.
It wasn't so much that; it was simply that they had a tough game against the Giants. I believe they lost to the Giants earlier this year on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, that too, right? Yeah, man. I don't know that they're going to set him. I think they're going to let him roll. What do you think about Ronald Jones in that game? Any interest in Ronald Jones? I mean, it's a nice price.
I mean, he was a fringe guy for me. He didn't end up making the cut, but he was right outside of it in terms of my player pool.
Yeah, I was just curious. I had a hard time. I mean, I asked you guys in the chat, and nobody really had an answer of that kind of mid-range running back. I'm either playing those top-tier guys, or I'm going to go down deep low and grab Ty or somebody. I didn't really like anybody in that mid-range.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel too. I mean, I ended up with a lot of, Jeff Wilson probably is the most owned of that mid range,
and even Wilson's in 6,000, isn't he?
Yeah,
6,000 and up. I didn't have any real issues. Is a little below that. Let's talk tight ends, guys. For me, I'm in love with Robert Tonyan. I think it's a smash game for him. I think if they get up big, they don't need to pressure with Adams. They don't need to worry about their big names. I don't see any reason why Tonyan doesn't play the whole game. The Chicago is terrible, absolutely terrible against the tight end. They were bad when they had Buster Skrine in, covering the slot position and helping out against the tight end, but Skrine's out. So I really like Tonyan. It's $5,000. It's not cheap. I usually like to go cheaper. If I'm going cheaper, it's probably I got a lot of Evan Ingram at 37. Then I'm kind of toying around with the Indianapolis guys, Doyle or Burton, if I need to go sub 3,000.
Yeah, I'm not. I do like Tonyan, but my probably my cheap tight end is Evan Ingram. He had a great game against Dallas earlier this year. Daniel Jones likes to throw to him.
Is there a scenario that the Giants make the playoffs? I don't think there is. Is there?
If they win. Yeah.
If they win and Washington loses?
Yeah.
Whoever wins Dallas and New York wins the division if Washington loses.
If Washington loses, yeah. And if you read the tipsy pick, I like Wayne Gallman in this game. He's on a contract year. He's an unrestricted free agent. He doesn't really have a home in New York, if you ask me. I mean, he probably does. They'd re-sign him, but I think he's going to get a better offer. He's played good NFL football this year. Has he been a great fantasy star? Not really. I mean, he helped you out in season long. He was viable a few times in DFS. I know that Emmerich was on him a few times, but he's been absolutely solid at like 12, 13, 14 fantasy points pretty much every week. I think he's playing for a contract, and I think he can really go up big in this game. So I like Gallman a lot. He's probably my favorite bargain running back this week.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't know what kind of upside he has. I mean, I see what you're seeing. He hasn't been able to achieve that number in like 3 or 4 weeks since he had that consistency. You do have Dion Lewis. You do have Alfred Morris. Both of those guys are taking snaps and runs from them. Dallas's defense has been atrocious against the run, but I believe that they've been a little bit better in the last couple weeks. And it's one of those things that, I guess they've still been giving up a ton of points, and they've just been able to create some turnovers. That's one of the things you just have to be able to do, is just pivot away from some of these teams that change as time goes on and the narrative remains the same. It's not the case with Dallas. Their defense has scored some points, but it's on the back of special teams and interceptions and things like that. They're still giving up tons of points to other teams. So yeah, I mean, somebody on that New York team is going to get some points, but I think it's probably going to be Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, or Darius Slayton.
Yeah, Ingram is probably my most owned tight end. I like Tanyan's situation the most, but 5,000 is just a lot to pay when I'm paying for some of these high-end running backs. Any other bargains down there? Parnham, maybe, out of Los Angeles?
He didn't really do anything last week, so not super interested. I mean, you can find probably the 800 to get up to Ingram.
I tell you, if I'm not playing Seattle, one of the guys that popped when I was looking through my projections and lineups was Jordan Reed out of San Francisco with all the other guys out in wide receiver. See a lot of 2 tight end sets out of San Fran this week.
I don't think so.
One interesting one might be Dan Arnold in Arizona, given, Chris Kirk's out. The injuries and everything that Arizona's had. So, it might be one to put a flyer on at 3,100. It's all upside. Obviously, he's got to score a touchdown. But, if we're talking dirt cheap, that might be somewhere Kyler goes since his receiving core is depleted.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Andy Isabella is at 3K and Keyshawn Johnson there at 3K. I mean, I think Isabella probably runs the slot. Johnson's the outside receiver. I think against most other defenses, this is probably a spot that you want to attack. But being that it's the Rams gives you a little pause. I mean, there's a really cheap receiver on the other side, Josh Reynolds, that would be interesting if it wasn't for John Wolford being the quarterback. So.
Yeah, I'm still pretty interested in Reynolds and to a lesser extent Woods, even with Wolford there, but not a ton, not as much as I would have before they announced Goff was out. I mean, we love Josh Reynolds on this show. That's our boy.
Yeah, I mean, the thought that I have for Isabella or Keyshawn is that these guys don't need to score a ton of points. I would venture to guess Jalen Ramsey, especially given the situation, ends up shadowing DeAndre Hopkins. Just seems like something that he would do, especially when there's like no other wide receivers in a very important game for them. So I think that's going to open up things for the other guys. I just, Kyler's rushing upside is still there. I think even more so in this game. But I don't think that he's going to get the passing yards that necessitate rostering him over a couple of these other guys like Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, and Lamar Jackson, who I expect to be the 3 most popular quarterbacks. Yeah,
looking at that, I do like Dan Arnold. I do like Isabella because they will avoid the 2 top cornerbacks for the most part. So I don't mind them. All right, let's talk. What else should we talk? Should we talk the Chargers? Chargers and Kansas City game. I mean, Henny's playing, but I just have a hard time not clicking on one of these Kansas City guys. Hardman probably sticks out the most for me. Just not a ton, just in a lineup or 2. I like him. On the other side of the ball, I mean, Williams is always a guy getting targets, but he just hasn't been getting it done lately. I do like Guyton, too. I always like Guyton at 3,400. What do you like here, Chris?
I mean, I like the three Chargers wide receivers. I think you can make a case for any of the three of them. Mike Williams, obviously the strongest case. Guyton, certainly completely viable, but I think also Tyron Johnson is a guy that you need to consider.
Yeah, I like all three. Any interest in playing any Kansas City guys at all, Chris?
Not really. We've seen Chad Henne.
Right, Mark?
No, not really. I mean, I have a little bit of Hardman. That's about it.
Yeah, looking through these 20 lineups I put in last night just to play around with pricing. I've got Hardman in one. I've got Darrell Williams in one. Not the same one.
Yeah, I have a couple of Darrell Williams. I can just see them running the ball a ton to protect Henne, and he's out snapping Le'Veon Bell. So
Bell might not play.
Yeah, Bell might not even play now. So that's.
I could see Bell suited up and not taking a single snap and just having a Darrell and Darwin show. They have nothing to play for. Why bother to hurt Bell? Bell's their main backup.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. I've been kind of flipping through the news, guys. I haven't seen anything else come up. Anything else you want to cover, talk about? It's week 17, so our friends who come in with their season-long stuff are gone. They're not here. But I will take a moment to let everybody know you can find our premium stuff at fantasyfootballblueprint.com. If you head over there and you want to get a head start on next year, the draft cheat sheet is already available for $27 with promo code D4U. Get that today and get the next month of our premium DFS content for the other sports that we'll be covering. We'll include that through January, I think. I haven't talked to Reginald about that, but I'm saying it now, so it's true. You tell him Johnny Danger sent you, and you get everything free through the end of January. You tell him, but only if you sign up, of course. Got that out of the way.
So we've been talking a lot of GPP. What are your guys' favorite cash plays? Who's your cash quarterback?
Cash quarterback would be Aaron Rodgers for me.
That's where I found myself too.
Yeah, I like Aaron Rodgers a lot, and I like Russell Wilson. Those are my two favorites for cash. I think Russell's in a great spot. San Francisco's dinged up again in their cornerbacks. Nothing to play for on their side. I think it's just a game where they stay away from that very strong linebacker in front end of San Francisco and just throw the ball all over the field. So I like Wilson a lot. I like Rodgers a lot. Those are my two favorite cash guys.
Then if you can fit them, I think Derrick Henry seems to be the obvious choice. He's just 9,400 is a little tough to cram him and Rodgers into a stack or into a cash lineup.
Definitely. I like Taylor a ton. I like Monty again. Gaskin. I just like Gaskin. I think they're going to give the ball to Gaskin for the whole game.
I do like Gaskin a lot too. And they're Tua's starting, but Fitzmagic's out for COVID.
He's out.
Yeah. So they have no backup. So
and I think that plays in the favor of Gaskin. I think they'll keep the running game going more with Tua, and so I like that a lot. I know Chris doesn't like it, but I do like Josh Jacobs. I mean, he just crushed Denver earlier in the season, and I just kind of like how that sets up for him. So I've got quite a bit of Josh Jacobs. What else, guys? Anything else? Mark, you're going to start doing NFL stuff, or NHL, I should say.
Yep. Yeah. So this next week you should see divisional breakdowns, and I will have a NHL draft cheat sheet that will come out this week.
I like that, and we are going to start on Tuesday night doing the In the Cup with Draft for Upside with at least you and Adam. Possibly, I might be able to join you for that for PGA coverage. The new season starts, I believe, January 7th is the kickoff of the tee off of the new PGA.
Yep, this upcoming Thursday.
You ready for that? I don't know. Chris will join us when he needs to talk about Kevin Na and pop in every now and then.
Yeah, and then either this week or the week after, we'll start the Best Pucking podcast on Thursday nights.
Nice. And I believe Chris and I will, I don't know about live so much, but at least pop a video up here and there about League of Legends as that starts to pump up starting this weekend. And of course, you'll have Lou and Chappie and Lucas doing baseball stuff. We're going to have a lot going on right here on the channel. So keep checking us out.
It's exciting.
I don't have anything else. Any final thoughts, Mark?
No, I mean, this is, depending on your viewpoint, this is an exciting slate because you have to do a lot of research, I think, to be successful this week. You have to come up with a lot more scenarios than you normally would. You know, who's going to play full games, who's in it for bonuses, who's playing for something in the playoffs. So it's going to be fun. I found my player pool very focused this week, more than other weeks, and we'll see if it works out.
Christopher?
No thoughts.
No thoughts. I like it.
None.
Well, keep up to date with us, guys. We got a lot going on the channel and a lot of new sports happening. Hopefully, we'll get the rebrand over at Fantasy Football Blueprint to FantasySportsBlueprint.com. All kinds of stuff. When we're not doing LOL, I think Chris and Mark and I are going to try to tackle best ball starting in early spring and get everybody ready for best ball NFL drafts after the NFL draft is over. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I don't know. Chris, you wanted to do that. I'm not trying to speak for you here, but you had mentioned.
Yeah, we'll do some stuff.
Tackling some best ball. So I'm working with Mr. Reginald to get that cheat sheet adjusted for best ball. So that's going to be pretty cool.
Excellent.
There's a lot to look forward to, guys. I appreciate y'all. Good luck in week 17. And don't forget, if you are watching this and you want to get in on our DFS league for the playoffs, we're going to do a $100 DFS playoff league. You just catch on our Facebook page and look for the DFS league information on there. And that will be kicked off next Saturday at the start of the playoffs with a couple of 3-game slates. We'll catch you. Are we on Tuesday night for golf? Is that what's up?
Yep, Tuesday
night at 8 p.m. for golf, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. for our general show, Thursday night at 7 p.m. for hockey. And we'll catch y'all later. Cheers.
Cheers.